Let's slice through the dead weight to find some prime cuts of horror movie material. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 classic slasher movies that should get rebooted. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at iconic, highly regarded, or influential slasher films that could benefit from a reboot. To be clear, we're not suggesting a rush job or a remake in name only to cash in, but rather a thoughtful and well-planned reboot to give the property a new lease on life. We'll also be including planned reboots that are still in the development phase. Number 10. Deep Red.
There's somebody in the house. He's absolutely trying to kill me, you know?
This film might not have the name recognition of, say, the Halloween franchise, but it's sure to catch the attention of genre enthusiasts. An Italian slasher that's widely respected and considered hugely influential, Deep Red is memorable for its excessive gore and ingenious, unique camera work. Of course, the amazing soundtrack, courtesy of Italian prog rock group Goblin, doesn't hurt its legacy. Many have emulated filmmaker Dario Argento's masterpiece, but few come close to its greatness. We'd love to see an English language remake that similarly pushes boundaries in terms of camera work, and features, dare we hope, a new soundtrack courtesy of Goblin.
You have killed, and you will kill again.
Number 9. Peeping Tom.
Do you know what the most frightening thing in the world is?
At the time of its release, Peeping Tom was considered incredibly controversial. Cinemagoers had rarely, if ever, been presented with such graphic violence or perverse sexual desire on screen. In fact, critics called it disgusting and beastly. Though Peeping Tom is said to have killed filmmaker Michael Powell's career, it cemented his legacy as a horror icon, and is now regarded as a masterpiece. The movie follows a serial killer, Mark, who films his female victims as they die. It's a dark, fascinating exploration of psychological trauma and obsession, and one that could easily translate to our modern age of voyeurism and self-documentation.
What do you think you've spoiled?
Opportunity. Now I have to find another one.
Number 8. Black Christmas.
Oh, why don't you go find a wall socket and stick your tongue in it? That'll give you a charge.
Released 4 years prior to John Carpenter's landmark Halloween, Black Christmas is a crucial piece of slasher film history. A subversive horror movie ahead of its time, Black Christmas followed proto-final girl Jess, who's targeted, alongside her sorority sisters, by a mysterious killer. Pregnant and wanting an abortion, she suspects her boyfriend Peter. The film got a remake in 2006, but it was released to little fanfare and felt like a transparent cash grab. Black Christmas deserves better. A modern remake could carry a strong message of self-determination, while also paying tribute to the original film, and in keeping with contemporary final girl trends, allow its heroine to break the mold.
I'm going to kill you.
Number 7. Terror Train.
Everybody take off your mask.
Take the basic premise of Halloween, shift the setting to a train on New Year's Eve, and you've got Terror Train. A thoroughly absurd film in all the right ways, Terror Train sees college students at a costume party terrorized by a killer. Forget snakes on a plane. It's a Groucho Marx costumed murderer on a train.
Hey, take it easy, man. What are you doing?
Admittedly, it is an exploitative film with little concern for character development, but having victims dressed in all manner of silly costumes just adds something to a slasher film plot. We're not calling it a masterpiece, but we think the setting and premise could make a phenomenal remake if handled correctly.
It's a joke.
Number 6. Madman.
Play too hard to win, and you might not like what you become.
Madman didn't make much of a splash upon its release, but became a cult classic after finding its audience through drive-ins and home video. The film follows a group of campers who accidentally invoke the wrath of Madman Mars, a local legend and axe-wielding murderer. The film was critically panned, but hey, that's horror for you. Madman doesn't reinvent the wheel, it just delivers on all the quintessential tropes people want from a slasher, including one creepy as hell killer. In short, it's got all the right ingredients for a slasher reboot, including plenty of name recognition with genre enthusiasts. Let's bring back Madman Mars.
Madman Mars will get you.
That's right.
Number 5. Alice, Sweet Alice. This 1976 slasher flick bears the distinction of being Brooke Shields' very first film role. It also just so happens to be one of the genre's most memorable examples. Part of what makes Alice Sweet Alice so distinct is that the slasher villain in question is a child, the 12-year-old Alice referenced in the title. This adds a whole new level of terror and discomfort to the story. In a genre oversaturated with hulking men, a little girl in a trench coat and a mask? That feels fresh, even decades later. A remake of Alice Sweet Alice has been in the works for years. It's time to make it a reality.
It was Alice! It was Alice!
Number 4. Sleepaway Camp.
She's just quiet. If she were any quieter, she'd be dead.
Sure, the title is literally just a generic location frequently recycled by slasher films. But do not let that fool you. Sleepaway Camp has earned its place among the classics. What makes this otherwise cookie-cutter horror film stand out is its willingness to take the predictable genre into absurd territory. It's not always in good taste, but it knows how to make an impact. As for its enduring legacy, it's the twist ending that makes the film legendary. After weak sequels and even some incomplete ones, Sleepaway Camp deserves a reboot with the same freewheeling, over-the-top spirit as the original. The big challenge? Finding a worthy modern twist to replace that of the original.
Meet me at the waterfront after the social.
Number 3. Candyman.
Who is that?
Helen, I came for you.
Good news, slasher fans! This woefully underrated film is likely getting a reboot. And according to a 2018 report by Bloody Disgusting, Get Out filmmaker Jordan Peele is in talks to lead it. Released in 1992, Candyman is based on a short story by horror legend Clive Barker and explores the story of the titular figure of urban legend who slashes the throats of his victims with a big hook. The first film was well received by critics, praised for its intelligence, style, and overall balance between gore and more cerebral scares. Sadly, the same cannot be said for its sequels. If Jordan Peele signs on, however, Candyman could truly return to its former glory.
Be my victim.
Number 2. Friday the 13th. We know. Jason Voorhees has gotten more than his fair share of screen time. The thing is, we keep coming back to the franchise, despite the fact that it's been one disappointing sequel after another. Why? Because each and every time we hope, despite the historical evidence to the contrary, just maybe the franchise will return to form. In 2009, we got a reboot. But considering Michael Bay's involvement as producer, we should have known it would be all style and no substance. A decade later, however, Jason is reportedly set to rise again, this time with LeBron James in talks to produce. Can it be a co-production with Blumhouse? Thanks.
Then he's still there.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
And don't anyone say April Fools again, or I'll rip them apart.
You see Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy.
Number 1. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Like Friday the 13th, the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise has spawned numerous sequels and was also rebooted by Michael Bay and his production company Platinum Dunes. However, stylistically, this 2010 version felt incredibly derivative and failed to deliver in terms of creative kills, twists, or character development. Here's the thing, when the original film came out, it was legitimately innovative. It scared viewers in all new ways. We'd love to see a remake that goes back to square one narratively speaking, but that also gets creative within the dreamscape, pushing boundaries. Let's make a reboot that would have made Wes Craven proud. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.